3, 2, 1.
Welcome to
Herbert Junior Surface Grinder Part 4.
And in this one, we refit the spindle and we paint it. Hope you like it. The bearing has arrived. SKF as promised. So we'll see how much side to side there is. Well, very little, much less than the other that I've just taken off. I've noticed that the new bearing is the reverse construction of the old bearing. With the new bearing, the rollers are retained in the outer, and with the old bearing, the rollers are retained within the inner. But the rollers on the new bearing are quite a bit bigger. So with this tube reversed ends, if it's not right, I can slip the bearing off and turn the tube back to the way it was, but I am as certain as I can be, this end should not have been at this end. Now we'll see if this bearing is tight in here or not. Oh, it's needing a bit of a tap. Bear with me. It's going. Now if you hear a big sort of tinkling noise, it'll be that packing sleeve at the end dropping down into the machine. It's still on as of now. This collar just here can get stuck because it's free to move around, so I just need to line it up. Well, it's as smooth as anything now. There's no horrible clunking from this end at the back end here, so that bearing definitely needed changing. We'll set the end float when we put the pulley on. This can go onto here. Now when I look inside here, over here, I can see that that tube is sitting correctly now. Before, the wider part of that tube was almost hanging off the boss at this end. And we've said already that there was no gap for the grease. Now I look down these greasing holes here, and at the back here I can see there's a void that the grease will go into. So that tube was definitely the wrong way around. If I blow into it, the air blows through, you know, absolutely fine. I'm going to have to tighten up this rear pulley when I've got the belt on because I've no way of holding the spindle at the moment. This is a left-hand thread. Yesterday the paint arrived, so it's back to cleaning. I get these bellows off and then decide whether this knee needs to come off. I'm hoping not. Well, the top screws, 2 of them, come off easily enough because you can get a straight shot at those. It's a bit harder to get to these. Well, to say how old they are, these bellows are not actually in bad shape at all. There's a bit broken up here. Maybe some super glue, I don't know. Or even cut one off. It'll shorten the bellows, but I don't know that it's going to matter too much. There's no splits in them anywhere else. Yeah, see a bit of light through, but that's all. Well, there's a clamp here, a ring clamp, 2 screws there, and 2 screws on the other side, and it's the same at the top. And it's split at the back, purposely. See if we get lucky with this one. And I've just noticed there's also a screw at the front, just there somewhere. So these are split like that. Okay, machine cleaning is not much fun, you know. There's still loads of work to do on this before it can be painted. I think this is redeemable. It's a bit tatty on the ends, but you'd be surprised. I think we could make something out of that. The top one here, well, apart from being clamped incorrectly for goodness knows how long, I think that's recoverable. Clean it up. Time for this to come off. I'm not going to be having that 3-branch split like it's got there. So I've got 3 out of 4 screws in this switch. It's a big enough switch, isn't it? Come on. Ooh, look at that. Right. You wouldn't think that was only switching a 1/2 horsepower motor, would you? So we can see 3 phases in, 1, 2, 3, and earth. So these can come off, and then there's 2 wires red at the back, which went out to the lighting transformer. Well, I'm not going to use that. So these can come off, and we can get this cable over there out. But I'm going to keep this switch because I think it's fun. I mean, this machine will probably go into a 13 amp socket on the wall with a switch on there, but I want to keep this isolator because it looks original. And maybe somebody's going to tell me, well, you know, it's regulation to have a separate isolator on the machine. So now we take off the feed for the light fitting, which are those 2 there, and this one went up to this contactor, these 3 wires here. So we can slip these out. And this one, like that. And then we can disconnect this, pull it out. I'll just take the 2 screws out of this plate here. It's easy enough to do that, isn't it? Rather than trying to unscrew this just now. I'll do that on the bench later. Right, then I can clean this up and then I can get my sander on the back here. The instructions for the paint say that it doesn't need any primer on the metal, but here where it's gone a bit rusty, I'm just going to put a bit of red oxide on first, just in this section, and round the other sides, the 4 sides, but I mean not here. You can see there's been some red oxide on here already. I always hesitate before getting another machine really, because it always means a lot of work. If it isn't painting them, it's trying to get them working properly where other people have bodged them up. As we've seen on the milling machine, even though it was, you know, outwardly a very good mill, which it still is, I suppose. But there was still lots of work to do, wasn't there, to get it right. Already stirred, shaken up anyway. Last corner. I hope this is as exciting for you as it is for me. I'm not really that interested in cosmetic stuff, if I'm honest. I'm much more interested in function. But I wasn't going to leave this white and green and red. Well, we'll let that red oxide go off overnight. Now, I said to you that I was taking off the lighting transformer. I am, but I'm going to still use the original light because I think it's quite authentic. So what I'll do is put an LED driver in the bottom and just run a wire up to this. So I'll have to clean this off and paint it as well. Take it back to whatever the original was. I'm guessing it was grey. I think it's quite a nice touch. All right, I could just use an ordinary, you know, LED light like this thing, which I'm trying to use for lighting here. But, you know, I just think this is better. Well, I've put many hours of work into this, preparing it to paint. It's kind of why I avoid painting machines if I possibly can. But anyway, scraping off the old white and green and red paint took off most of the dirt, and then I've washed it over with degreaser. Then I wet and dried it. Now I've still got to go over it with brake cleaner and a paper towel or something to take off every last little bit of grease. The colour's arrived. I can't remember if I showed you that already, but it's not exactly right. It's close. So this is not dark Admiralty grey, or what used to be called battleship grey before 1949 apparently. This is slightly bluer. I'll show you what I mean. I'm a bit disappointed. I really wanted to have the same colour if I could, but it was £25 for the paint, and then, you know, I don't want to spend another £25 at another guess to see if I can get it right. It's not worth it. So this is the electrical side panel, and you can see the colour. And if I take this shield here and put it over, this is the dark Admiralty grey. Now this has only had one coat. It's quite light when you put it on, but then it deepens quite a lot as it dries. And it is quite bluey, but it's not as blue as this. Now I've tried to match this with various, with this printout colour chart, which is BS381C. And this is the colour that I bought. And my print is pretty good, and it's matched that fairly well. That's the colour. And I thought for a while that it was this colour I needed, but I think that's wrong. It might be this colour. I mean, I don't know how it's going to come out on your device anyway, but that might be nearer. But I'm just not going to risk buying yet another colour. It might be the extra dark sea grey. Now, if I put a piece against this that's been that's had a couple of coats like that, well, you know, it's near enough. It's what I'm going to do. Well, it's been a long paint stinky afternoon, but everything now has had at least one coat, and some parts have now had two coats. But having said that, I still need to sort out that spark catcher and the light over there. They've not been touched at all. That oiler is completely empty. Now, why is that? Was it leaking? Did it not work? Or did nobody ever fill it? We will find out. The paint will darken as it dries. You know, I've got so many projects in flight here, half-finished things. Over there, look, there's that Vivo dividing head. Now it's over there in the box because I've still got a plan to strip that down. Many people have said to me that it'll be full of swarf from manufacturing. So I do plan to strip it. I will do a video on that, but it's there pending, like a lot of other jobs around here. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to...
I've got a name. Herbert Junior Surface. Yes.
Welcome to...
Herbert Junior Surface Grinder Part 4. Herbert Junior